Now when you're using an airbrush, this is, I think, probably the most commonly used setup right here. This little bottle. Both of these airbrushes are bottom feed and a siphon feed. If you the air comes in and goes over the top of this tube leading into here, creating a vacuum and sucking the paint up and blowing it out through the nozzle. It's called the Bernoulli effect. The air passes over, creates a low pressure, the paint comes up, and then you have an airbrush. There is another way. There are airbrushes with little paint cups on top feeds, but they're for like artists. We're talking about painting here. This is a little air cup a little paint cup for small projects. Goes right in here just like that does. Put a little paint in there for a little touch-up project, or put a little accent on something. Really handy. This little paint can here will probably do a whole flying W Capricorn one side. Bigger projects, they have bigger paint bottles. And that's an old one, it's glass. Pretty much anything you get today is going to be plastic. The only thing wrong with these was that the metal tops rusted after many years. This is actually this is for a Pactra, a different manufacturer of brush, but it's got a nice wide base, and I use it to run cleaner through my gun. When I'm using the gun and I want to do something else for a moment, I take and I put this on there and I spray cleaner through the gun if I'm going to set it down for more than 5 minutes. And that helps to keep it from the paint from drying up inside and clogging the gun and creating the problem of having to tear it apart to clean it. So, did you ever notice that one side of the Q-tip is bigger than the other? Or every Q-tip? I don't know why that is. But anyway, so you dip it in here a little bit. And you put it in here where the paint's going to come up. And you twirl it around a little bit. And you pull it out. And I did a pretty good job. Nothing on there. If that doesn't do it for you, you may have to get some cleaner. Take this tip right off. Comes right off. Put it in one of these little bottles with some thinner, cleaner, restorer, whatever you got, and soak it overnight. And then clean it up with a brush and you'll be good to go in the morning. Looks like this one could use a soak. Goes back together just like that. You wait a minute. I'll plug into some air. Oh yeah, you need air. I've got a nice air compressor. Many of you probably won't. You can buy aerosol cans, like paint cans, with nothing but air in them, and an adapter to go and run your airbrush. You could buy there was a fella down in Key West, and he was painting, and he had a nitrogen tank. You go to a welding supply, and he got a big cylinder, like big, like 5 feet tall, of nitrogen. And he was airbrushing this lovely young lady who didn't have any clothes on. During Fantasy Fest in Key West, there's a big parade on Saturday night. It's that week of Halloween. And it's a theme parade. It's really a blast. It's kind of an adult entertainment thing though, because a legal costume for the big parade on Saturday night is basically a G-string and body paint. And so if you get really good with an airbrush, you can go to Key West and paint naked women. It sounds like fun to me. A little demonstration of the airbrush. I'll take some Createx. Shake it up a little bit. I'm going to put this little bitty paint cup on here because we're just demonstrating. We're not trying to paint a whole plane. Put a few drops of paint in it. Okay, here we go. So I put a few drops of paint in here, and as it gets going, it goes pretty fast. And that's as hard as it is. Get done. Take your cleaning solution. Some paper towel. Okay, so you got your bird painted, your boat painted, and in the case of the foam plane, if you want to clear coat this so that it tends to have a little more permanence in the paint, you can paint it with water-based polyurethane, WBPU. This happens to be Minwax, polyacrylic, protective finish. This is clear gloss. I suggest using the gloss finish. Now, I got curious the other day, and I cut this piece of Depron here. It's 1 foot by 2 feet, so it's 2 square feet. And I took this and I brushed on a coat of polyacrylic and brushed it good, you know, so that there wasn't a lot on there, but I got complete coverage. And I weighed the sheet before I started, and it weighed 24 grams. I've got a pretty nice digital postal scale that is very accurate. And when I got done brushing on the polyacrylic, it weighed 26 grams. Well, gee, that's not bad at all. So I let it dry overnight, and then I weighed the sheet again. It's back to 24 grams. So it means that whatever this stuff left on that sheet didn't weigh anything. Or anything my scale could tell me anyway. Just out of curiosity, I had some Czar varnish. This is Czar varnish, clear gloss. Been using it for years. So I put a pretty good, several drops in the same place right there, and let it set for a while, and wiped it off with a paper towel, and lo and behold, no damage to the foam. So if you really needed it to be waterproof, you could use Czar varnish. Foam, paint, and airbrushes.